Refugees are a big problem for many countries and one that does not seem to be ending anytime soon as the number of refugees increases year by year. For example, in 2013 there were 16.7 million refugees worldwide, but in 2014 this number rose to 19.5 million. In 2015, we have seen a lot of refugees, mainly from Syria, arriving in Europe, and this crisis led to the Prime Minister David Cameron announcing that the UK will accept up to 20,000 refugees from Syria. But if you consider that every Syrian refugee who comes to Britain and is unemployed will cost taxpayers up to £24,000 a year, this means that the cost will be huge. So what can we do to help? Here is what we thought of. A basic idea of our business plan is as follows. We will first divide the refugees into language groups and use IBM Watson to translate from English to each group's language, which could be Arabic, for example, and vice versa. Then we will give them an introduction and overview of the country they are in and its system. Interviewers will later ask them specific questions, and based on the responses, they will be allocated to a job sector that suits them best. Here is where education will begin in order for the refugees to obtain the basic skills needed to work. By working, the refugees can be incorporated into the country's system, earn their own living and thus not need continuous support from others, and finally give back to the government and society in the form of taxes or productivity, for instance.
Help refugees to build happy and safe life is our main goal. That's why our first step was to understand what is our competitive advantage in this field. We researched other refugee campaigns to understand what else was needed and offer help in that sector. What we noticed was that most of these campaigns, like Refugee Action, UNICEF and International Rescue Committee, are focused on providing basic needs to refugees like food, drinks, medicaments and clothes, and offer practical support and advice to empower them to rebuild their lives, but there is not that many campaigns that provide training and educational programs for them. Although there are few campaigns that provide education for children, there are not that many campaigns providing training and education to adult refugees in order for them to find a job. What we also found was that the other campaigns and organizations act as charities and so depend on people volunteering. Thus, not many people that offer the help have the necessary skills to really support the refugees. What we aim to do is employ skilled labor with the necessary experience in order to help the refugees as much as possible.
Traction. Who thinks that our project is a good idea, and who could we potentially work with? Many different companies have supported the refugee in this crisis. The idea would be to potentially work with some of these companies in order to find a job for the people in need as fast as possible. Red Cross UK or Refugee Action, for instance, offer emergency provisions to those facing severe hardship and give orientation support and friendly advice to the most vulnerable. They provide support to help newly arrived refugees adapt to life in a new country. Once refugees feel settled in thanks to Red Cross or Refugee Action, our representatives could start helping them to find a job. However, who would be willing to offer jobs to refugees? Companies that have helped refugees a lot, especially thanks to donations, include IKEA, Starbucks or Uber. We could potentially collaborate with companies like these by finding refugees that could work for them as long as they have the required skills. The idea is to find basic jobs for them as soon as possible. These jobs don't require a lot of training, which is ideal for the refugees and able to settle in immediately.
Moving on to organizational structure. Great team is surely needed to execute this great idea. Our proposed business model will have a hierarchical structure framework. The whole business team will be led by a manager, primarily in charge of the whole business, by making sure the team is always on track to reach its objective. The manager will be assisted by, first, the senior interviewer, who will be responsible to structure the way interview is carried out, as well as being in charge of all junior interviewers. Senior interviewer will be an experienced person and has excellent educational background. Second, the IT expert. This person will be solely in charge of the IBM Watson utilization in terms of language translation as explained earlier. Thirdly, general trainer. General trainer will be overlooking sector trainers, which will be in charge of training refugees in specific occupational sector. The refugees will be allocated to specific sector training in accordance to their performance in their interview. So how the interview will be conducted? First of all, we have to realize that the interviewees, the refugees, will be less educated, and in most cases, English will be not their first language. Furthermore, refugees will not have much experience, or in most cases no experience at all in terms of going through job application processes, interviews, or even for a proper job. Therefore, we have to conduct this interview in the first place in a less formal way. Why? This is to make them comfortable with our interview and to prompt them show the real talent of themselves during the interview process itself. This is why we have decided to use IBM Watson in our business plan, especially during this interview process, to translate their language during the interview. Interviewees will perform better when they speak with their own native language, researchers have suggested. Besides, questions asked during the interview should focus on the personal life of the refugee. Simple example: what activity is the refugee interested in? What does the refugee think of teaching? And so on. Putting this together, the interview process itself will give us a better insight to allocate them in the right sector training for future job prospects.
Concerning the costs, we have salaries for employees, costs of training and education, as well as costs of hiring coaches for transportation. For the investment, we will raise enough money from investors and the government to make sure our business operates smoothly. However, unlike other business, we don't sell products or service to people. We only sell our product to the government, so the revenue we receive is constant every month. The huge education costs will exist every month as well. The price we set to the government tries to cover our all costs. Consequently, we don't have a break-even point in our business. If we can get £100,000 per month from our investors and £400,000 per month from the government, then we can have a surplus account to operate our business and can offer our help to 20,000 refugees. However, in the worst-case scenario, where we cannot raise enough money for our business, we would have to reduce the number of refugees we offer our help to. Additionally, the surplus we made each quarter will be used to pay any IBM Watson costs, which are not shown here, and also any other costs which may occur during the year.
Do you know Michael Marx? He's the founder of Marks and Spencers. How about Albert Einstein? Of course, all of us know him. Heard about Jackie Chan, the favorite actor of all time? How about Sir John Hobland, the first governor of Bank of England? Max Born, the Nobel Prize winner for physics? Do you know all these people have something in common? All these people are refugees. They discover their own talent and purpose in life to excel themselves and be a prominent person today. So imagine, just imagine, if more refugees are exposed to the discovery of their talent, and if we have more prominent people like them. More Michael Marx, more Albert Einstein, more Jackie Chan, more John Hobland, more Max Born. You can make a difference. We can make a difference.